Hey, Colin.
Hey, what's up?
I'm good, man. Uh, Tuesday. How's it been so far? How's your week?
So far, so good. It's beautiful weather here. So it's been, I feel like spring is here, like
Yeah,
getting to go outside, go for nice walks. I live by a park. So it's been
mm,
nice.
nice. Smell the roses.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Say hi to everybody
Yeah. Nice
without being
family.
weird.
How about you?
Man, it's good. It's good. Kingston, not too warm. It's getting warmer now because no winter has passed. So we're entering springtime, summertime. So I'm most excited about the length of the days. The days are getting longer, which is great, which means I can wake up early. I like waking up early. I'm sorry, nobody, hate on me. Sorry, I like waking up early, even when I don't have to. So I get to wake up a little bit earlier and still see the sun. So I'm like, that's great. And then more hours at the end of the day too. So
What's early?
early is quarter to seven. Yeah,
Do you,
that's
do you
that's
wake up?
early.
Do you wake up naturally at that time, or are you like an alarm setter?
Uh, alarm. I do alarm. Naturally, I'd wake up around maybe about 7:30, 7:15. Yeah, but as it gets closer to summer, I can set my alarm earlier.
What's your morning routine?
So I get up, pop in an audio, and listen to entrepreneurs, that kind of stuff. Get my teeth brushed. As if I don't, I'll notice and it'll gross me out. Yeah, I try to get in like a shake, some kind of protein, some kind of snack. Jump on, check some emails. Probably think about, what did I not do yesterday, and see, all right, can I maybe rock off maybe 15 minutes, but 15 minutes always turns into an hour, right? Yeah, always turns into an hour. Then from there, I try to slow down a little bit. So I'll go outside, take a walk, sit down, take in the air, and kind of reflect, meditate a little bit, maybe a bit of personal devotion, pray, that kind of stuff. I find that when I slow down in the mornings, I think the rest of my days go a lot more smoothly because I'm not all over the place.
Hmm.
There are days when I'll get up at like even earlier than normal. I get up at 6, Colin, and I'll be working right back till 6 in the evening. I'm like, what's happening from work, projects and campaigns, right back to commitments I made to business partners, right back to like sales coaching calls, and I'm like, what is happening? And then some days it's like really really relaxed. And on those days, I have to remind myself not to be too relaxed because work is still there. It's gonna be there tomorrow. So see what you can do today, just to be wise. Get as much done today while you have the free time. Before tomorrow. But what about you?
I've
Um,
been through different stages of morning routines. The stage I'm in now is I sleep, prioritize. So I'm like naturally a night owl. Like I feel like I enjoy staying up later, but when I was growing Pursue Networking, I had to shift because I was working with so many people who were on the other side of
Different
the
time
world.
zones.
Yeah, that like the idea of me getting going at like 11 is not like it for a long time was not practical based off the fact that I'm helping people with LinkedIn, with the fact that like the engineers and everything it was all early. So I had to change and I had to go through a period of my life where I had to become a morning person. So like there were periods where I had like calls at 7 a.m. With people for a long time. Um, I'm happy to say that that period of time is behind me. I was able to kind of transition out of that because as I built relationships with people, we could work independently a little bit more, that they didn't need those regular touch bases. So I would say what I'm in now is because I went through that, I told myself that I was going to prioritize sleep. That was kind of my number one because, I was in corporate America for 10 years. So also
Mm.
getting up early is because I had to be at the office by 9 a.m. So, backtracking when I was living in New York, I had to wake up relatively early. But now I wake up when I feel like waking up. That's kind of what I give to myself.
When you're done sleeping,
Yeah, when I'm
that's
done
how it
sleeping,
should
but I'm
be.
not tired. That's when I wake up. I would say now it's usually about 8:30. Not like super early, but not super late. And then I really enjoy having like a slow morning. I feel like it's one of the luxuries of life because I didn't. I used to jump into work. I used to like immediately go from 0 to 100 of like looking at my phone, solving, like talking with technical problems, like telling that my mind would go from like sleeping to like racing so quickly, especially because when you're working with people on other sides of the world, they're coming in, like you see all these like long-winded messages that they sent at like 3 4 a.m that are like waiting for me. So it's like I would dive in. I really try not to do that. I'm not perfect at it, but now I try not to look at my phone, and just kind of have a slow morning. So like, yeah, like drinking a lot of water, kind of getting myself together, putting on music. Um, my ideal outcome, what I'm trying to do with the weather being nicer, is to just go for a walk. And then on my walk is when I start looking at my phone, and start mentally kind of prepping for the day. That's kind of my morning routine. It's nice, but there was a long period where that wasn't the case. It was very like an unhealthy jump in work.
Yeah, I get you. And yeah, the more you give is the more they will take. They're not gonna
Yeah,
say no, Colin, slow down, take it easy, O'Shane. No, they're gonna say, give me, give me, give me, give me. This is urgent. The whole world is crumbling. The sky is falling. Chicken Little, but it's not. It's really not, and it can wait just a little bit to keep your peace of mind
yeah.
aligned. Yeah.
Also, I learned from that experience that it's a matter of it's the people, stupid. If you have good people who are working with you, then they don't need you to be able to execute their work. And so I feel like looking back on it, that if I felt the need to, I had to wake up to get people going, then those weren't the reality, the right people that I needed to work with to make it so they're independent, because they should be able to self manage and self execute, especially if they're in different time zones that are available to them, and then be able to work with me at convenient times for me, even if it's just check-ins. Like, how do you organize yourselves to make progress? That's kind of what I found. So I actually I have a stand up with my team every day, but it's at 11 a.m. versus
Mm.
7 8 a.m. And yeah, it's the core towards the end of their day, kind of. But with the right people, that's totally fine because they're reporting in what they what they
What you
need,
do?
and then they're doing their work independently.
Oh, okay, great. And you're in EST, is that right?
Yeah,
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Okay, great. Just for the listeners and watchers of Pursue Networking. So office hours is officially on LinkedIn today. Is that right?
That's
We're
right.
live on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. We're live on YouTube as well. And if you've been following just anything from any of the pages or from my profile or Colin's profile, then you'll know that this is a community that we're forming for you. Like, this is your community. This is a space where you can kind of figure out this whole LinkedIn thing. Is it casual social media? Is it for entertainment, or is it for me to find a job? Is it for business development, or is it to find authentic, genuine connections and relationships that blossom into, in real person, face-to-face connections? I think it could be all of the above, and it could be none of the above. But a question that I think most people ask is, where the click do I start? like, what? How do I even interpret this thing called LinkedIn? What do I have a frame of reference even to say, okay, Should I be more formal or less formal as compared to what? As compared to Facebook, as compared to Instagram. And we'd like to cover some of those topics today to kick off, and then later on we'll talk about branding, like how do you build a brand that kind of stands out? How do you determine what to put on your profile to build your brand? Like, should it be your history, the path you've walked, or should it be your aspirations, your trajectory, where you're trying to head to? Um, but Colin, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So get this: 1.1 billion LinkedIn users. There are 1.1 billion LinkedIn users, right? Of the 1.1 billion, about 48% log in monthly, all right? But only 12, well, between 12 and maybe 16% actually sign in or log in daily. All right. So if you calculate about 12%, they're about, that's like 170 something million people. Like, so how do you stand out with a brand that, you know, is competing against 176 million people? Should you even be competing, or is there enough to go around? Are there enough jobs? Is there enough clientele? Are there enough meaningful connections that you don't have to compete? But pretty much, where do you start, Colin, to establish a brand, to kind of even put yourself out there? Like,
Yeah, that's
you
a
know where to begin.
yeah, that's a great question. You start in the beginning. I like to when I start at the beginning, I like to think about have the end in mind. I think that's where I would start. LinkedIn can mean so many different things to so many different people. So the question becomes, what does it mean to you? What is it? What are you trying to achieve with your LinkedIn profile? And I find that when I ask that question to a lot of people, a lot of people haven't even thought about it. They just think of it as a resume platform, or a job platform, or a place where you can, um, post things or just kind of passively scroll. So I think being intentional is where you start. If you're looking for a job, then you want to take actions to try to optimize your ability to get hired. If you're trying to build a personal brand, you want to be able to take action to get more noticed. If you want to find clients, you need to have a good profile and have a good offer, and think through how you're leveraging more of the premium features of LinkedIn to do better targeting, to do better outreach. So there's no right answer, but you have to be able to have some, presence of mind to know what it is that you're trying to achieve. Because once you understand what you're trying to achieve, that's when we can create a blueprint to say, well, here's are the steps that I think you might want to take that would yield the result you're trying to achieve. So the conversation starts with, what's the end goal in mind? For me, I was growing a business around LinkedIn. So I, needed to find collaborative partners. I needed to do outreach. I needed to get meetings. I needed to think about how to structure offers and communicate in a way that made it easier to create inbound for myself. So I didn't have to always do outreach, but people could find me. So I would say that the crux of the answer is, starting with the end in mind and working your way backwards.
Oh, nice. Start with the end in mind. All right, great. So then, if your goal is to grow your business, then that should determine how you kind of position your personal brand.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, when you start with the end in mind, and you're right, you want to think about positioning. It starts with your LinkedIn profile. So once you have some general sense of what it is that you are trying to achieve, the next question becomes, how do you optimize your profile to attract the people to you? Um, most people just think of it like a resume. So they're very focused on the past. It's like, what have I done? And let me just document that. But if you think from the end in mind, you're thinking more about what are you trying to achieve and who do you need to attract in order to create inbound for yourself. And now you can start thinking about, well, what's the positioning? If you are trying to grow a business, then you're trying to attract clients or customers. You need to express what it is that you're trying to achieve and what's the value proposition that you're offering to the market? If it's a product, it's a service, you have to be able to articulate that so you don't need to repeat yourself over and over again. So it's about controlling your position.
Okay, interesting. And if you are tuning in from anywhere in the US, drop a comment, drop USA or drop a flag in the comment. Drop your flag wherever you are. If you're tuning in from Canada or the in Eastern Europe, Western Europe, anywhere in the world you're tuning in from, drop your flag in the comments. And so, Colin, I want to kind of throw it back to you to kind of dive in a little bit more as it pertains to a personal brand on your profile. What are the elements of somebody's profile that they should probably be paying most attention to? Well, I think maybe the first one would be a profile photo, right?
Yeah.
A good one, not just any random picture, but one that's actually of you. You'd be surprised. People post photos of their dog. I'm like, how does that make sense? Right? If you've done that and you're listening, I'm sorry, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the other person that posted their dog. What about you, Colin? What do you think?
Yeah, I think a professional photo is important, but again, it kind of starts with like, what are you trying to achieve? Let me ask you this, because I'm actually curious to hear what your thoughts are. Like, walk me through your trajectory on LinkedIn. Like, how did you think about the platform, and how has that changed over time?
Oh, thank you. Okay. So I never really took LinkedIn very seriously until it became paid work. Paid work. So my story is I'm a freelancer on Upwork in sales and marketing, and I meet this client who says, "Heck, I need you to manage campaigns, LinkedIn automation, marketing campaigns for my clients." Okay, so I dive in and they introduce me to this world of automations. And then that's where I started realizing that LinkedIn is probably is the biggest platform for business to business interactions, and like hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars worth of deals take place because of interactions that start on LinkedIn. So I started with LinkedIn being sort of like a stream of income. I'm like, okay, I can make money from this. This is the first social media platform I've been able to make money from, and so I was pretty excited. And so it was a little vain, it was a little shallow. Okay, or how can I make the most money possible from LinkedIn? But as I stuck around, I realized that not everybody is on LinkedIn to promote a business or to serve their client or to market, etc. There are people who are on LinkedIn who just really want to just kind of get away from the work in a sense, going to a little virtual space where they can connect and just find similarities with people in a different environment that maybe down the road leads to somewhere. And so my heart became soft. All right, it became soft. And so I'm thinking more along the lines of how do I create connections? How do I connect with people that there might be no clear value that I can provide to them right now, or vice versa? But knowing in the back of my mind that the whole platform is designed for connections now or later, but connections are gotta take place. And so I'm not too intent on rushing the process as much. So I'm a lot more conversational. I'm a lot more not laid back. I'd say I'm a little bit more relaxed when it comes to connecting with people. I'm not as aggressive as I was before, because it was just money, and like this is my stream of income, right? But no, it's more like how can I really develop that organic relationship, because I do know at some point there's gonna be some kind of value exchange, even if it means just I don't know, just engaging on each other's posts, and people need that. People need some kind of, I would say, validation, some kind of being noticed or recognized. It's a human need to be appreciated. And so I feel like I'm contributing more to that now as opposed to when I just started.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I'm going in that trajectory in that
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah. I love that. I would say that what I always tell people is the key to getting success on LinkedIn is to think of it as a relationship platform and not a transaction platform. Most,
Oh, okay. I
yeah,
wish I
most
knew
people think about it as what can I get out of it? How could I grow my business? How could I get sales? How could I get customers? They're thinking all about the conversions and the transactions that they're trying to achieve. But exactly as you said, the way to get results is by providing value to people and trying to attract like-minded individuals. We met through LinkedIn. I've met clients through LinkedIn. I've helped clients build up networks on LinkedIn. With that methodology, we're not trying to, we're not focused on the short term. We're focused on building up the network and really trying to craft winning offers and a message and use it as a lead generation machine by trying to provide value to as many people as possible. And so I find that most people lose sight of the relationship aspect of it, and focus too much on the transaction aspect of it. And, if you're going to a networking event in person, you're not going to run up to people and just pitch what you do and your offer. You're going to disarm them by opening up conversations, asking them questions about themselves, showing genuine interest. And so what people miss is that LinkedIn is still a human relationship platform. It's a place to be able to take those interactions that you otherwise might have in person and apply them to an online forum. But the decorum of the psychology of human relationships still applies. The lesson is, how do you figure out how to apply that in your particular use case? And that's where the skill set of it comes along. But I find that it's a very learnable skill to get good, and the results speak for themselves. We wouldn't be here together, you in Jamaica, me in Atlanta, without LinkedIn as the bridge to allow us to connect with one another, to give us dual purpose, to be able to build businesses together through the platform. And I know that you're aware, but for the audience, all the other people that I have on my team, whether or not that might be in the Philippines or in Pakistan, wherever it is, in India, what brings us together is the shared interest of growing businesses. And that's like a very universal thing, that we want to combine forces to amplify each other. And that's kind of what the nature of business is to kind of bring people together through a shared mission of amplification. So I find that, like, LinkedIn, unlike Facebook and Instagram, it's a very business centric idea. So it's like there's nuances that are specific to LinkedIn that I'm excited for our journey together to try to attract more people who are interested in learning that skill.
Nice. Okay. So, yep, that great share, Colin, for sure. So, pretty much, we need to be more human and more relationship driven, as opposed to robotic and results driven, results focused. I think I'm getting what you're saying here. It's just like in any other aspect of life. You talk about networking at an event. I might use the illustration of dating. Like, guy meets girl, guy doesn't say, hey, let's get married right away. That doesn't even begin to make any sense, right? There's
Yeah.
a process to it, in relationship building. And I think because there's a screen in between us, or I don't mean you and me, but between us on LinkedIn, there's a screen between us. Then I think we forget that that humanness is required. That LinkedIn is supposed to help us to form more organic connections, and not um, subtract it out of the equation so you can get you to your result faster. That's not what it should be doing. It should be helping you to do that at the same pace that you would in person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so I think my mindset has changed, especially since meeting you, Colin. All right, I've seen the light, and it's becoming a lot more clear to me. And so I think because of that, the need for personal branding
Yeah.
has kind of increased or improved. So we need a professional photo on our
Mhm.
LinkedIn profile. Uh, does that necessarily mean get a shirt and tie, button it all the way up, and suffocate, or or get on, those ladies have their power suits and pay a photographer, 100, 200 US, and go to a studio and take that kind of photo? Or is it as simple as taking a couple of shots with your smartphone, right? What is how far do people need to go with their profile photo?
Well, I
Do you
think
think?
that I think personal branding on LinkedIn, on the internet in general, you got to think of it like an iterative process. So actions create data, and then with data, you can make better decisions. So it's more about just doing something in pursuit of making progress to be able to get feedback, to be able to get that data. So I wouldn't get caught up, whatever. If you don't have a resources to get professional pictures, don't get a professional picture. Take a picture on your iPhone, or your Android. You want to limit the excuses to make progress. That's what I think. Also, piggybacking off of what you said with the analogy of dating and like human relationships. I know you said, would you go up to somebody and say, would you marry me? I would say, I think most people would probably say the answer is no. But just to kind of further that analogy, would you go up to a pretty girl on the street and say, give me your number? You can, but chances are the conversion rate on doing that would be low because you haven't disarmed the situation. You haven't created comfortability or rapport.
Yeah, or
So
broken the ice.
you haven't done anything. You haven't even tried at all, which is why you're going to get the no. And it's the same thing applies on LinkedIn. You can't reach out to somebody and say, and ask for a meeting or pitch your offer, which is what most people do. And they lose sight of the disarming nature of building rapport and breaking the ice. So I would say that part of personal branding, part of your LinkedIn profile, is thinking through the lens of how do you disarm. The way that you disarm is to be authentic in expressing what it is you're trying to achieve, thinking about that end in mind, talking about your offer, talking about your value proposition, talking about your why, not showing vulnerability of where you were, where you're trying to go. And the reason is because if you do that well, you're giving people the ability to play off of your personal story. Now compare that to somebody who has no about section, has just their prior experience, and then their title that says they're the CEO of a company, let's just say, or
Yeah.
a VP of a company. You're not giving anything to make it easy for other people to engage with you.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that you won't be able to find somebody on the street that might actually wind up giving you their number, but you're now operating from a negative situation because not everybody who you're going to get to say yes is going to be a buyer. So you got to remember that the goal here is to ideally make money, not necessarily create engagement. You want to find and attract the right people to your offer, the right people as customers. And not only does that require you understanding what is the right and wrong people, but it's being able to articulate in your personal brand and express that so the people who are the right people would see that and be attracted and recognize themselves as the right person by speaking about the problems that you solve. Or people who have those problems could be like, you know what, I want to talk to that person because if they have solutions to this problem that I'm experiencing, I feel like we would have a good conversation. And that's what you want to do. If you can disarm somebody, the pretty girl on the street, by commenting on something that's going on, asking a particular question that isn't about what you want, but trying to build rapport, what you're doing is to building the bridge to be able to eventually extend an offer at the right time that hopefully increases the probability and the chances of them wanting to say yes. And I think that people don't think about the personalization aspect of how you present yourself while doing business and while conducting networking, and how it still applies on the platform.
Yeah, I think most people don't even know.
They don't even think about it. Yeah, I agree.
So this is the space. That's what we're tackling. This entire brand Pursue Networking is about getting you up to speed with organic networking, whether in person or online. And so the profile photo. So don't make a big deal out of it. Use an iPhone, use your smartphone, take a photo, put it up there. If you're not sure, well, I'd like to say, hey, you can send us a message. You can DM me your photo and say, hey, what do you think about this? All right, Colin and I, we're happy to share our feedback, and you can make the best decision for your profile. So trickling down from the profile photo, there's the headline. So how do we now use our story and I guess craft our headline? Because that's what I'm hearing from you. We need to put our story out there as a way of showing our authentic self,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much what disarms people. So how do you craft your headline? Is there a
Yeah.
formula for doing that? I know you get maybe like 67 characters. In If somebody searches for you, you get about 67 characters of your headline that's shown. Pro tip, right? How do you craft something that resonates in as little as 67 characters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say if you're looking for a formula, the formula that I typically try to, anchor in on is I help audience member or audience achieve result. So that way, if your ideal customer profile sees your headline and you speak in the right words about achieving a result or overcoming a hardship, solving a problem, let's just say, then it anchors that ideal customer profile and curiosity to keep reading. Because
Mm,
the goal of the headline is, you could think of it like your first impression. Is it going to close you the deal? No.
no.
Is it going to spark engagement? Not really. What it's
Exactly.
doing is it's trying to get people to continue to explore what you have to offer. So it's about piquing curiosity, calling out your ideal customer profile, talking about problems and solutions. That's to me the formula of what you're trying to achieve. And then it's an iterative process. So it's about like iterating over typically on any product or service, you're solving lots of problems. You're solving lots of problems for lots of different people potentially. So it's anchoring in on, well, what's the core problem? What's the core ideal customer profile? And that might change depending on the actions you're doing, right? So if you're trying to go after or running outreach campaigns to a particular, demographic, saying that in your profile when you reach out to them and then they see that as a first impression, it anchors them in understanding more what you're trying to achieve, which is a little bit more disarming than saying that you're the CEO, reaching out to somebody and then having them have no context of what it is that you're trying to achieve, and then forcing them to go explore more to be able to put all that together. The goal is to kind of bring that to the forefront, so it makes it easier for your target audience, because what it demonstrates as a good first impression is that you're trying to be a good networker by making this easy for them to make a decision, right? Because sales is
Mm,
all about progression towards a decision. Are they the right person at the right time for you to extend an offer to at the right time, or are they the right customer? The easier you can make that for people, the better conversions you're going to get.
mm. And nice, nice, nice. Okay, so I help audience achieve result. Wonderful. I'm gonna throw in my piece. I'm gonna throw in my piece.
Yeah.
Something personal. That's not too personal. That's gonna get you into trouble, right? But not too generic that it doesn't make a difference. So, for example, a client of mine, he's a father. He offers cinematography services, and oh, that's Dwight, by the way. That's Dwight. And so I looked at his headline, and I tweaked it, showcasing he helps these people, right, with cinematography. But I also added that, oh, he's a dad. He's a father of 2.5 kids, right? Two girls and one expected. And I think the more points of, I guess, personality, the more personal points that you can add, not too many. I think it helps to create points of interest or commonalities and shared ground. So I think it helps people resonate more quickly with you from an emotional standpoint because you have something in common, right? And while they're assessing, do I want to use this person's services? Am I a good fit? You can now decide, okay. So the reason I started doing that was this book called Start with Why by Simon Sinek. Pretty much that's what the entire book is about. I'm showcasing why you do stuff, or in other words, showcase some kind of emotional, value or values that you have, core values, the things that you believe. Because people more readily resonate with people that share the same beliefs than people who don't. For example, Christians see somebody saying, "Oh, I'm a Christian." They're probably more likely to do business with another Christian, or Jews with Jews, Muslims with Muslims, right? Because there's that commonality. So you feel as if this person would more likely understand me than somebody who doesn't have that commonality. And so if you're not putting something on your profile that's like about you, about your personality, maybe hobbies or something unique about yourself, I think you're missing opportunity, you know?
Mhm. I absolutely agree. I think that also you hit the nail on the head with what I was saying before is you want to start with the end in mind and be able to understand who your ideal customer profile is and who you want to attract
Yeah.
for those reasons. So a quick story along those lines is when I first started really aggressively like networking on LinkedIn and trying to get sales calls, let's just say that was kind of my main call to action. I wanted to try to see if I could open up conversations and get people on calls. I was trying to go after lawyers. I have a legal background, and I thought that that would be a good customer profile for me to try to network with. And I offered marketing services. So in my profile, I was saying things like I help lawyers, solve marketing problems, or solve Facebook, or do personal branding, things like that. And I would do outreach and I would get no results. I wouldn't be able to crack the code to even open up conversations. It seemed like nobody wanted to talk to me. And I was trying to think through like, why don't they want to talk to me? I don't understand. I have like all this experience. I know that people need this type of support. And what I realized is that it's really important to understand not only who your customer profile is, but enough about them to understand I call it the market conditions. What are the market conditions of the ideal customer profile you're going after? Who else is reaching out to them? What are they saying? How do you distinguish yourself from the other offers, right? Because what I was thinking about, and I kind of came to this conclusion, is I bet you they're getting hit up by these types of offers all the time, because there's no way that I'm the only person who's trying to go after lawyers for marketing services. You got to think that there's probably a lot of people, they're probably getting inundated by that. So I was like, okay, well, how do I stand out? So what I said was I help lawyers automate their business development. And so I started changing the wording of my offer. And when I did that, I automatically started seeing like a 5x return on open rates, because now all of a sudden people were curious about what's my process. That's what they wanted to know, right? So it sparked curiosity, and it also demonstrated an understanding of market conditions, because I was right. They are getting hit up by marketing services, and they're not interested in marketing services. They don't want to do that, but they're interested in potentially automating their business development, or at least having a conversation with somebody who says that they might be able to deliver on that promise. Now, for a lot of other reasons, I decided that I didn't really want to go down that ideal customer profile because I didn't really like working with lawyers. But
no offense if you're a lawyer and you're watching
I'm a
this.
lawyer, so I almost reopened my eyes once I was able to do this, being like, this is why I didn't want to practice law in the first place. I don't want to do this. I don't want to Yeah,
website.
I want to work with like business operators, owners, entrepreneurs. That was kind of my mindset. But it kind of stands to reason that you have to understand market conditions. Every market is different. You have to understand the wants, the needs, the desires, the pain points of your ideal customer profile, and also know what other people, what are the other offers that are being inundated to those people. How do you stand out? And so, what I've learned from this. Is it's all about depth. It's about how deep can you understand your ideal customer profile and understand the words, the phrases, the market conditions in which they're operating under. Because when you know that really well, it really sets you up to share your story in a compelling way. So to
Mm,
your point, you want to share your story, you want to have personalization, but combining those things, right? Knowing how, yes, you can present something personal, but also the personal aspect with the problems that you're solving, comparing all of them to pairing all those things together, start making you stand out, not only as somebody that can solve a problem, but somebody that people might want to just network with, engage with, open conversations with, to hear them out. And so it's like the point of a personal brand, the point of your LinkedIn profile is to just get past that threshold of, hey, I want to hear this person out. I want to have a conversation. I want to respond to this person just to hear them out. That sets you up for what we can say could become a sales process. So it's about building a relationship and then progressing maybe towards a transaction if it makes sense. But if you're just starting, you can't think about the transaction and focus on the transaction, because then that becomes more manipulative and you're not thinking about the relationship side of things. How do you present yourself in a way that you you want people to pursue you versus you having to constantly always doing the pursuing?
I see. That's why we have this wonderful tool. If you have not downloaded the Pursue Networking tool, then it's very easy. Just Google Pursue Networking. You'll go right to the website, and you can download it. Have a free trial, 30 days, no credit card needed, and this tool will literally help you to track these genuine organic relationships that are forming. So if you're reaching out to marketers, or if you're reaching out to just maybe people who you'd like to work for, recruiters, people in HR, then the Pursue networking tool allows you to save lists of people and categorize the people that you're in dialogue with, and actually label where in the conversation you are. For example, if you're at a serious conversation, or if you just started, or if you schedule a discovery call, you can label all of that and simply, check it every day, and see, who do I need to talk to today? Who do I need to check in on? Who do I need to add some value to? So that helps, I think, tremendously. All right. So check it out, try it out. Great. So Colin, we moved from the profile photo to the headline, and pretty much, if you understand your customer more deeply, then that'll help you to craft your headline even better. And I think the headline and then the background photo are in similar categories. Translating what you have on your headline to your background photo, I think, is as simple as getting just a plain, maybe even black or dark blue graphic in Canva, and put the words on there. If you don't know how to do that, I'm sure there's a geek that lives in your child's bedroom that can help you. All right, just knock on their door, and they'll come out and help you. Or there's maybe somebody at work who's a little bit more tech savvy. Or ask in the Pursue networking group. Like myself, I'll hop on Canva and I'll whip something up for you. I'll help you, no charge. All right, so you can get your background photo up. But the final piece, before we get to the next segment of the experience section, the piece about your about, like, what are you about? Now there is more characters, for you to put in more words. Maybe I think your limit is like 5,000 words. Of course, you probably don't want to use all 5,000, but is there a formula or guideline to piecing together the about section on LinkedIn? Of course, you want to include something personal about you, the audience that you serve. Is there anything else to consider?
To me, this is the most important part of your profile. It's your opportunity to tell everyone what you're about. So I don't want to think about it as in formulaic. It's more about what's your story. How do you share your story? Everyone's story is different, but from a writing, copywriting standpoint, I mean, there's hooks. There's, I think, narrative format that you want to follow. What you want to do is you want to be able to. I view it as like laying the groundwork. You could call it crumbs to allow for people to make it easier to, you know, ask you things during the networking process. So if you don't share any personal anecdotes or stories about what led you to the conclusions that you have, what you're basically doing is forcing people to, you know, ask you those questions again, or you share those questions on a call or in the DMs. And this is your opportunity to kind of frame yourself, like what makes you an expert in a particular field. And it's okay if you're getting started, but what piqued your interest about a particular field? What are some of the lessons learned? This way, you can not only try to provide value in the story, but be a little bit of entertaining or demonstrate structure, like you understand how to write with structure. And then also letting people know what the call to action is. Like, what do you hope that somebody does? Is it open a conversation with you? Is it to check out your website? Is it to join a group? Whatever it is, make sure that you are saying that, because the goal here is, if you have a good profile, if you have a good about section, if you are able to control your story, it makes it a lot easier to open up direct messages with people, and not feel like you need to repeat yourself every single time, because you like your framing. You want them to look at your profile, or even if you meet somebody in person and you connect with them on LinkedIn, you want people to explore your about section and feel like they get a better sense of who you are, what is your why, what led you to the decision of making the decision or the leap of faith that you needed to take to start your business, to launch your product. The human element is really what I think is needed in the about section. And I find, contrast what I just said to what most people do, which is literally about the career. Well, it's either all about themselves and about what they want, without really providing a lot of context, or it's literally just like keywords of skill sets that they have, right? I'm good at sales, marketing, business, leadership, nothing that's really distinguishable as like a human being. It's more of like just attributes of things that they've picked up along the way of their career. That's what I mean when I say a lot of people are just treating it like a resume, as if like you're trying to apply for a job versus attract like-minded people.
Yeah, I think that's partly LinkedIn's fault. They're like, I think there's a great emphasis on job hunting and finding a job, etc. I think.
Yeah.
So I think people kind of subconsciously go a little too far.
Yeah.
with it.
Well, I would say also though that this is we're entering into the transition period of what I think LinkedIn is, which is, for a long time it was always about creating professional resumes in order to help with jobs and recruiting. But what we're marching into with the introduction of videos and content creators and alternative media and like job and entrepreneurial opportunities, now we're venturing into people really using LinkedIn to develop private networks, to amplify what they're doing individually or for their business, and thinking of it more as like a career asset, right? Something that you could develop over the next decade as something that could pay dividends, like you could have real returns. That's new. That's come along with AI, with social media groups and like Canva, like technical tools that are making it cheaper than ever to feel like you could create content or repurpose it or build audiences. This is what I think is new and why it's changing from what it always has been. And what I'm hoping that we can achieve together is helping people open their eyes to not what it has been, but what it can be.
Wow, powerful. Thanks for sharing that, Colin. Thanks for sharing that. And so, if you want feedback on your about section, then hey, send us a message. Drop a comment in the Pursue networking group. We're gonna be putting out some of this content, these takeaways. We're gonna put them out in the group as well, so you can kind of see written down some of these main points that we're talking about here. But finally, one of the most emphasized and focused on sections of LinkedIn is the experience section. So I'd like to segue into the next segment and just find out, Colin, how should we really be thinking about our experience section? Is it about the path that we walked, or is it about what we're aspiring to accomplish? Should we be balancing where we've come from to where we're going, or should we focus mostly on the trajectory? What are we trying to accomplish in our business, in our career? Should we be speaking more to that? Or should we list out everything we've done since primary school and kindergarten in our experience section? So people have to, they have to click see more.
Yeah.
And they have to go to the page 3 to see how all this experience that you have, even if it's not relevant to what you're doing now. So how should people be thinking about the experience section of their profile?
How would you answer that? What do you think?
Colin, Colin, come on, Colin. You shouldn't have asked me that. You shouldn't have asked me that. So I absolutely love that you bring this up in the email sequence. So whenever you sign up for the Pursue tool or start using it, you're gonna get some emails with tips on how to use LinkedIn. And Colin kind of goes off a little bit on it. And Colin, I'm right with you. I'm right with you. Like people don't need to know like what you did when you were in the 8th grade, and volunteering, at the pet store, right? If today you're working, in IT for a software company, right? It just doesn't really add up. It's not cohesive, right? So in the same way, you probably would have put your 8th grade experience on a job letter or your CV or resume today because it's not relevant to the job that you're applying for. You probably don't need it on your LinkedIn profile either, unless it's something you're still doing. Right? So I'm thinking now, how can I just maybe go through and maybe clean up my own LinkedIn experience section? I think I really do because there's stuff on there from high school. So I'm speaking to myself here, guys. I'm not picking on anybody. I'm speaking to myself. But let me throw it back to you, Colin. How do you determine what's relevant to show on your LinkedIn profile?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the way that the way that I think about it is like you have the above the fold, the profile picture, the title, the background art. That's
Yeah.
what I like to think of as like the first impression. You're trying to get somebody to want to scroll down to then the about section, the featured section. That's where you have the ability to kind of showcase and share your story and what you want people to do. And then the experience section, in my opinion, is more about backing up that you are capable of achieving that, right? So you don't want, I don't want to say that there's like a right or wrong way to do that. A lot of it's just potentially passing the sniff test, right? So if you're basically saying that, you're building a, if you're helping people with e-commerce as a service or building a product in the e-commerce space, wouldn't you hope that you probably have relevant experience in the e-commerce industry?
Mhm.
That's what people are going to be looking for. So it's like, well, have they built Shopify stores? Like, have they built software before? Like, how did they get there? And I feel like you want to be able to explain that and showcase that and be proud of that, because that is your part of your story. And then you could get creative with how you're laying that out. If you've had different roles at a particular company, or maybe you don't have a lot of experience, but you're breaking down more about the company information. So being creative with, the let's say you've been in personally, let's say you've been in business for a few years. Being able to kind of like highlight some of the roles or the transitions that your company
Mhm.
has taken that demonstrates like seriousness, that you're not just getting started, right? Because you could say whatever you want in the story, but there's usually a difference when you've been in business for 6 months and 3 or 4 years of seriousness, of projects, of just iterations of the business. And so being able to kind of lay that out, again, I view it as just helping people frame what your background is. And so, yeah, I understand what you're saying, where it's like, well, look, if you're building a business, like for you, if you're trying to build a LinkedIn service-based business, talking about all the things that you've done 10 years ago that have nothing to do with that, are potentially not helpful. So maybe trying to go deeper in some of the experience and explaining some of the experience that you've participated in over the last few years, and breaking that out a little bit more creatively, about lessons learned, at least allow you the framing when you're networking with people to be like, okay, O'Shane has worked with a lot of different people across a lot of different industries, a lot of different systems, that demonstrate subject matter authority. Now that makes people feel like you could deliver on what you're describing as your story. If you're projecting that you want to help people, grow on LinkedIn, grow in business, grow in AI, then the natural next step is, well, why you? And that's where your experience comes in. And it's okay if it's not robust, but at least be able to demonstrate what you do have somewhat creatively. That at least gives some thoughtful analysis over how far you've come in that process.
Hmm. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, so that confirms it. Make it relevant, your
Yeah.
experience section. Be thoughtful as to what you put out there, and don't let it clash with your personal brand. If you were a different person then, all right, and you're a different person now, and it doesn't add up, is if it's not cohesive, then it's probably not helping you, it's hurting you, right? But at the same time, you could use pieces and points from your experience back then to further strengthen the experience that you have now. To say, okay, this is where I started, and what I've learned has contributed to the value that I can provide now. Right? But of course, we have to be, I guess, intelligent as to how we communicate that. Right. So maybe you don't need to remove your experience from 10, 15, 20 years ago, but maybe you could go in and tweak it. Tweak it with what you know now. You can tweak it so it supports your latest point of experience. So your entire profile becomes a lot more cohesive. Again, if you want some help with that, send us a message. We're in the Pursue Networking group. Join the group. Join the group. Get the tool as well. Message us. We're happy to help you with networking and just giving you feedback on how you can become more effective on LinkedIn. But that is where you start. Your personal brand, knowing what your end goal is, and your target audience. Of course, getting smarter with how you engage with people. Don't just go for the jugular. No, it doesn't work like that. All right, we need to bring the humanness back to our technological interactions. Or not because the person isn't right in front of you, doesn't mean that you shouldn't make eye contact, if you know what I mean, right? Yeah, that's probably a good quote, Colin. This being recorded? Yes, it is. Here, I'm gonna take that down. I'm gonna post that on my social media. Right? You can make eye contact through LinkedIn. All right, and I think that means slowing down, listening, and not being too aggressive or too assertive, but but moving forward with the person, not running ahead of them, moving forward with them, and engage personally. So good stuff, Colin. I'm looking forward to seeing the recap of this
Yeah. Yeah.
show.
What I would say is I'm looking forward to trying to bring my skill sets and your skill sets together to try to help more people navigate not just LinkedIn, but growing businesses online. Systems management, personal branding, copywriting. We're entering into this really interesting place, I feel like, in history where there's so many different agents and systems that can be leveraged to help with workflow management. But navigating that and understanding best practices and how that applies to you, I feel like is where me and you could really help a lot of people just, with an understanding of like what's possible, like how are we using it. And I hope that by just being consistent at doing this, we'll be able to not only attract people who are interested, just like I said, starting with the end in mind. We want to be able to try to attract people who are interested in that type of support. How do they grow themselves? For the reason, I like you, and I always try to attract people is I like to help people who like helping themselves. You want to grow your business. I want to grow my business. I think that there's a lot of people out there that want to grow their business, but how? And what's the good advice? How do you kind of, find the community, let's just say, that is going to give you honest feedback? Not everybody is blessed to have that community. And I hope that we could be that for a lot of people. That's kind of the goal of putting this together and trying to, launch Pursue Networking and try to build tools and bring community to people who are interested in growing businesses online.
Couldn't have said it better. So tune in next week for more office hours with Colin and O'Shane, and we'll see you in the group.
Absolutely. All right. This was great. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.